My great nation, distinguished members of press, I would like to greet you all with the most profound feelings and love. The first and the most important subject of our presidential cabinet meeting has been, of course, the developments regarding the coronavirus pandemic, as it has been so for a long time. In each and every corner of the world, the pandemic has shown a spike, an unprecedented spike, and it has also affected our country. And in this regard, we shared with the people of our country that we were going to introduce new measures. The daily infection rates is almost at 30,000, and this shows that we all need to be acting with more patience. We all are aware of the challenges of the measures, and we are exerting all sorts of efforts to mitigate the effects of that and to reduce the negative impact of the pandemic. Right now, we have been bringing about measures to reduce the human mobilization as much as possible. And other than that, there doesn't seem to be a much more effective solution. I kindly call on my nation to, first of all, abide by the three basic rules we always mention: wearing masks, watching social distancing, and also personal hygiene. And of course, it is important to comply with the measures related with the pandemic. And all the citizens, until the pandemic is no longer a threat, we ask our citizens to not to get into crowded areas and even act cautiously at their own homes. The most effective measure in this pandemic, for which there is no definitive treatment, is to protect ourselves. Even though we are healthy ourselves, we must be showing all sorts of sacrifices for the health of others and the beloved for us. And we know that the flu season and worsening weather conditions, the load of the infection rates is growing, and our biggest contribution to the healthcare professionals will be not bringing in additional load to be put on their shoulders. And the more we contain the virus, the safer we will feel ourselves in the face of the pandemic. And therefore, it is important to, in particular, underline that the threat of the pandemic is as dangerous and crucial as physical threats, and we should act in mobilization, all 83 million people of this country. The efforts of our healthcare professionals should not be, of course, defamed and devalued. We should be very careful about the speculations made against them. A section of the society which mixes realities with lies should be exposed, and it is our duty to expose them. So the social chaos climate that many are exposed to will not be the case for us, and we will always disappoint the games of those who try to drag us into such speculations and scenarios. And Turkey will, of course, curb this pandemic with God's will. When the vaccine start to be administered, Turkey will be stepping into a period during which we will be able to manage the process much more easily. We hope that we will leave this pandemic, the most challenging period of it, behind by the next spring. We are keeping a close track on the developments related with vaccine. We are showing the most attention to all the vaccines and vaccine-related studies across the world, and we make contacts immediately. So we have an agreement for the procurement of 50 million doses of vaccine. As we said before, our citizens will be able to reach to those vaccines free of charge. And hopefully, as of the following weeks, this vaccine will be practiced and administered, starting with the healthcare professionals. When it comes to the local vaccine studies, we are following them day by day. And we will, of course, hold tightly on those measures, comply with them strictly, and win this process altogether. The pandemic crisis should not be turned into a social crisis, and for that reason, we are taking our steps forward very cautiously. It is important to protect the health of our people at the highest level, but also, on the other hand, to protect the course of the daily life, social life, education, trade, commerce, and many other fields of life, and we're trying to find a method to keep them all together. During our presidential meeting, we talked about certain additional measures. As a result of the comprehensive talks we made, every day during the week, in between the hours 9 p.m. to 5 a.m., a general partial curfew will be in place. And this restriction will be in place starting 9 p.m. on Fridays until Monday 5 a.m. So it means during weekends we will be at home day long. Production, logistics, supply, health, agriculture, and forestry, like sectors which will be included into the circular, are exempted from the coverage of this restriction. Markets, convenience stores, and small shops or butchers and delivery restaurants will be exempted from this restriction in line with certain specified hours. And restaurants will be only serving for delivery. And the citizens age 65 and over and citizens aged 20 and under will not be able to use public transportation. The public provincial boards will continue to follow all the shortcomings in line with the public transportation and will be taking measures necessary to curb the spread of the virus. The activities of the nursery classes will be now paused. And we also, by considering the fact that the virus is spread more at home visits, we ask our citizens in particular to stop visiting one another at homes. Certain special gatherings, New Year's celebrations, parties, or similar events will not be able to host it at personal houses. And when it comes to the funeral prayers, the highest number of participants will be 30. This will be the case for wedding ceremonies. Saunas, swimming pools, massage places, gyms will stop their operations. And for the marketplaces and open markets, the provincial healthcare boards will define the top number, the highest number of visitors. And people will be asked for their HAS codes, life fits into home codes, when they are to enter into a shopping mall. And the healthcare provincial boards will have the authority to limit the number of the people who will be at public halls. And for the public halls, the working hours will be in between 10 p.m. to 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. The occupational health, safety and health experts or staff will keep a close track on the implementation of the pandemic-related measures, and strict auditing will be made, and details will be shared with the people with the circular to be shared by the ministry. And it has been scientifically proven that such measures curb the spread of the further spread of the virus, and this is how we acted to put those in practice. And I hope that all those measures will be auspicious for our people and will bring about luck and success. My distinguished people, on one hand, we are trying to curb the spread of the virus, but on the other, we are running a very historic struggle within and outside the country. As the president of the country, I would like to ask for one more thing from my nation. Please, for indoor areas, your homes or any other area, stop smoking throughout this period. Definitely. When it comes to hookah, definitely throughout this period, quit smoking it. I have nothing to do with cigarettes or shisha or hookah, but I ask these only for the health of my people, only out of love that I have for my nation, because all of these things do threaten our lungs, and these are the most harmful products for our lungs. In a large geography where our country is center located, humanitarian, political, diplomatic, and military wise, we are exhibiting a very historical stance, both to preserve the safety and security by our borders, and to reach out to all the oppressed and the downtrodden, and as well to protect and safeguard our cross borders. We have been putting in practices. Thanks to our fair, just policies, we have been attacked from within the country and from outside the country, but with God's will and with our nation's support, we are disappointing and frustrating all those. The fronts opened against us outside the country, and the traps laid in front of us are caused by some specific reasons, and we are fully aware of those reasons. Breaking the chains of centuries and making changes in the games, Turkey, of course, will disturb some, and some will want Turkey to pay the price for it. But we are, of course, God willing, are fully ready to endure everything that comes our way. But what upsets us is indeed the picture that we see within the country. To speak frankly, there are some who live in this country, who breathe in the air of this country, who enjoy the means, the opportunities offered by this country, but those again are the people who do not love their own country or their own people. They seem tolerant, they seem warm, but in their true senses, they are the pioneers of fascism and oppression. They seem to be working, but in reality, they produce nothing. They speak many words, but they say nothing. They act as if they know very much about the world, but indeed they are not aware of anything around them. They always decry and cry out, but never listen. And they know no boundaries when it comes to lies and slander, but when it comes to the truth, they turn their backs. And those people do not seek after democracy in the will of our nation, but in the signals to be sent from outside the country. And their hearts are dry and darkened, their eyes are blind, their tongues are rough because of the hatred they have, casting a shadow on our horizon, wasting our energy, and muddying the waters of this country will be, of course, heavy, and they have at least made that damage for the past 50 years. There are some who try to beat around the bush rather than going into the hearts of our people directly, and they will get the best answer from our nation. And our nation has always taught them the lesson at the ballot boxes, but these people have only other concerns in their agenda. They have engineering for plans for social engineering, and they have no time to see what the realities are. They ignore the country itself, but it has become their habit to attack the institutions and the values of the country. The CHP people very frequently do the same thing, and the most recent event was what an MP of CHP said targeting the Turkish armed forces, and his remarks directly show that this matter has become to turn into a security issue of our country. Following the single-party dictatorship, there were some who only did lean on the coup makers and tutelage, and a party that took office only through those. Yes, we understand them very well, but rather than opening the path for CHP's rule and power, they should know that Turkey is actually doing its own real duty by protecting and safeguarding its borders. Even though those people are MPs and they have those titles, they will never be allowed to slander the army, the great army of this country. Their only concern is not from where the investment made into our country but their concern is what the Turkish army has been doing for the past 5 years. From FETÖ to PKK, all the way to YPG, there were some terrorist attacks that attacked our country. And those people who speak up and out for them have only concerns to expand the borders that those terrorist organizations act and loom large. Azerbaijan and Qatar-like countries that show their support and friendship to our country unconditionally are attacked by these people at every single chance. And rather than acting against those who stand against us, there are some people who side with them and who target us as they do. The others, external parties, do. And at every chance, they make complaints about our country to external parties and foreigners and ask them not to come to our country for investment. And their only concern is nothing to do with Borsa Istanbul Stock Exchange, or anything else. Their only trouble, their only concern is with the country itself, with the people of this country, and with the targets of this country. And the democracy is being abused by the people who show such an ugly manifestation of their thoughts. But against them, we have been the strongest practices of democracy. Now I would like to make a call on the chair of CHP. Your MP will have no shame but use such despicable, such shameful, disgraceful words against our Turkish armed forces, and then you as the chairperson will not be able to kick this person out of the ranks of this party. Now I would like to frankly say, a nation that holds strongly and tightly on its soldiers and army will never forgive you, and the ballot boxes will not forgive you either, because our source of freedom and liberty is not coming from what the EU does not, what the West does not practice. Our democracy is way beyond than many could see. There were some who could try to do what we do in the West, and you will see what happens. Being a journalist or the mask that you wear in disguise in civil society organizations will not save you either. Those who blame our country from Gezi Park protests to the others now play three monkeys in the face of the events unfolding in France. When the streets are on fire, when the police officers are being attacked, the French media, rather than broadcasting and covering those news, is only sharing news about Turkey, and this is another distorted mindset. Just because the caricatures about our prophet were criticized by some French citizens, they were questioned at police precincts for hours and hours. But you cannot expect anything else from them. And also, due to the anti-democratic behavior of the government in the face of the developments unfolding in France, we are to reiterate the concerns that we have for the future of the humanity. Of course, there is a line where the human liberties end, and this is about being a single state, a single homeland, a single flag, and a single nation. And this is how we express it in a form of Arabia. And over the past years, there are some who attack us with all the power they have and still failed to make our country kneel. And they go even beyond this line and target our own values. And they are attacking the government, the military, intelligence, defense industry, the Religious Affairs Authority, the investors, and even the hydrocarbon exploration activities that we have in the Black Sea and the Mediterranean. They attack these all. In the face of the roles they are to play abroad, some do only turn a blind eye for their own situation, but never refrain from attacking our country. And they do all they can in their power to stop our country from moving forward. But they will never succeed, no matter what they do, no matter what methods they practice, or no matter what despicable method they adapt. They will not succeed, because from the Dardanelles War to July 15, our nation has shown over and over again they will never give up on their freedom and independence. They will never allow their calls for prayers be silenced, and they will never give up on their liberty. The nation, the whole nation has faith in God, and they only expect the aid and the grace by God and God Almighty only. And this is how we expect so as well, and the biggest support from our nation. Last week, 10% of the share of Borsa Istanbul Stock Exchange, Istanbul Stock Exchange, was acquired by the Qatari PARTİ, and the Wealth Fund last year bought it from EBRD. After such an agreement, the share of Turkish Wealth Fund in Borsa Istanbul is 80.6%. Mr. Kemal, you should know what this is, because you will need it in the future. So it is exactly the same on a year-on-year basis. The Investment Authority of Qatar, there is also Germany, the UK, and also the United States of America. In more than 40 countries, this is a global institution that has investments worth of billions of dollars across the world. And also they own the 10.3% of London Stock Exchange. But nowhere in the world, nobody says Qatar is taking over our country. No one in another country said such nonsense words. There are some who say who never. There has never been anyone who said give the title deed away to the Qatarians and the title deed of the UK or any European country to Qatar just because they procured certain stakes, shares. But the fact that our country is growing in economy and for the investment to grow in scope, these are important actions for the production of the products that we import from other countries. We will work harder and exert a higher number of efforts, step up our efforts, and continue to make our country much more attractive in terms of foreign direct investment. And the only investing country into our country is not Qatar. Over the past 15 years, among countries that invest our country, the Netherlands comes first, and it is followed by the USA and the UK, while Qatar ranks the 17th. As you know, during our rule to bring the international investors into our country, to attract them, we have put in many efforts in practice. We also provided incentives and encouraged our own investors to invest outside the country, because the international investment practices do bring about economic benefits both for the investing countries and also the countries where the investment takes place. But some say the Qatar Investment Authority has become a partner, a shareholder of Borsa Istanbul overall, and they're creating uproars and crying out. However, the EBRD also was a partner, a shareholder of Borsa Istanbul by 10% until 2018. And also the Nasdaq from the US was a shareholder by 10% until 2018. And then why did you make such a fuss back in time? We do not care about the color of the people's skin or their religion or their ethnicities when people are interested in investing, because investment does not have a color. It is of investment and money. And Borsa Istanbul has now been more valuable. It doesn't matter if it's EBRD, Nasdaq, or Qatar Investment Authority. No matter who invests, it is worth of appreciating for us. But such a fascist mindset, only judging by the identities of people, make discrimination among investors and investors to be. And this shows that how we cannot entrust our country into CHP and the people who follow CHP itself. But of course, their intention has never been to protect the interests, to preserve the rights of our country. When they are attacking our country and objecting in the investments, their only concern, only goal is to make sure that our own people face challenges, because they're trying to create their own rule out of the disasters, potential disasters that our nation might be exposed to, but our nation will never forgive them. Our nation will never forgive those people who slander the country's army, from the teachers to the judges, from the craftsmen to artisans. There are some who believe that cursing at others, slandering others is of politics, but our nation will never forgive such people. Our nation will never forgive those people who use ugly words against our teachers. Our party has done 5 or 10 times more than the totality of what was done throughout the Republican history. And we will, from this point on, put our 2023 goals in practice and achieve our 2053 goals. We continue with our investments. We continue to open and inaugurate our projects, and hopefully Thursday evening we will be inaugurating the Opera building in Ankara, and with this the first giant opera hall, concert hall will be in operation, and Ankara will be adorned with such a structure for the first time. Of course, this will be participated by very few people considering the restrictions about a pandemic. Even though it has a capacity of more than 2,000 people, we will be carrying out this inauguration ceremony with the participation of only 300 people maybe. But our only concern is to continue with our investments, to continue to walk on our path, but on the other, continue with the rest of our investments, for example, the inauguration or opening of viaducts or roads or highways. This is what matters for us. And of course, we want our nation, our people to have a chance to watch what goes on. And this pandemic will not hinder us. We will continue to march on our path, and we, starting with the measures and also the construction of hospitals and many activities for the development of vaccines, we have been exerting a lot of efforts. So as I said before, starting this Friday, we will be at home day long during weekend until Monday, 5 a.m. We will be at home, and of course we will never lose control and be distracted, but be always cautious in terms of our measures. And at home, when we are together with other people of our family, we should also be careful and not smoke cigarettes or hookah or whatsoever. And as I said before, I do not ask these for my own, but for your own good. And do not forget to keep your windows open. And now we are starting a new era. We have to be sensitive. We have to be careful. And for that, we need to be stringent about the measures we will take and all the steps we will take. And now, within a couple of months, 2 or 3 months, the vaccines will be delivered, and we will be distributing those vaccines to our people free of charge. But for these all, we only need one thing, and the only thing we need is unity, is togetherness, is fraternity. And the poet says, when calling one another brother and sister, it is like we're sharing the same cup to drink water. When we call one another brother and sister, it is like we're singing the same song. When we are calling one another brothers and sisters, it is like we're breaking the same bread. So it is like we are sharing the same cup of water to sip from. We are sharing the same bread to break, and we are sharing the same song to sing together. This is how we act. Before I conclude, I would like to say that the precipitation rates the precipitation rates have decreased almost by half this year, and there is a threat of drought. But thanks to 585 dams we have put into operation, we have prevented the impacts of this drought from coming into our lives. And when the precipitation rates go back to normal, we will, of course, not face any difficulties. But I ask my nation to be careful about their water consumption as well. With all thoughts in mind, these thoughts in mind, I would like to share my love and respect with each and every one of you. Thank you very much. Stay in health.